we're going to be looking at the timeline sequence, which is this area that is encircled in blue. We'll look at all of these tools that you see here, how to use all of them. All right. Now, for the most part, if you open your project and you see that yours is not looking like mine, what I want to implore you to do is to just move over to Windows, go over to the workspaces, then you see that mine is actually on vertical. I purposely kept it on vertical because of the sequence I have. But then if you click the sequence and you see you cannot, doesn't bring all of this stuff, make sure that you come here first and click on somewhere on the timeline sequence before coming onto the sequence. Go back to the settings, you see something. You see that yours is 1920 by 1080p, and mine is the reverse, 1080 by 1920. And it's showing you here that mine is vertical. Yours could be showing horizontal. The difference is that because my sequence is a 9 by 16, a vertical sequence, that's why I came over to Windows and working in the working space of this vertical. If yours is in this editing, it will be looking like this, which is usually for horizontal sequences. In a nutshell, what I'm telling you is that if yours is looking like this, just come over to Windows workspaces and keep it in vertical, and you're going to see it display in this manner, especially if the sequence is in a vertical format. Okay, so having said that, let us take a look at all of these tools that we have around there. When you want to edit a footage, most times you find out that, let's say you take a recording of yourself talking, a talking head recording of yourself. Maybe you have vlogging where you're just talking to the camera, just like this guy is doing here. You must have made some mistakes. So you find yourself that, okay, you want to cut and trim away all of the errors. All right. So the first thing you want to do is to learn how to cut the video. All right. So you can put cuts in the layers of the video. So this is video layer 1, and we have this particular footage here. If let's say there's a mistake I want to erase from this part, what am I going to do? I'm going to make use of this eraser tool. The eraser tool, the shortcut for eraser tool is C. So if I just click on this eraser tool, the icon is going to change to eraser. All right. So since this is the point that I want to insert my cut, I'll just have to click once, click it, and it's going to split the footage in half, as into 2 rather. If I need another cut around there, let's say this is where the error is, I cut it like this. Then I have the in of the error. Go back to my selection tree. The in of the error, let's say it started blabbing from this part, and all of this part I want to remove. What am I going to do to remove this? It's either I use my backspace to delete, or I just hit the delete key on my keyboard. But take note, when you do this, there's going to be some sort of spaces. How do I remove the spaces that we have around here? It's either I click the space and I delete it, or by Ctrl Z, I push this and I drag it here like this so that I can remove the space. So when it's going to play now, it's going to just be seamless. Having said this, the next tool I want us to look at is this selection tool. The selection tool is for trimming. Don't forget that we just use the razor tool to insert splits, to split, or you can say cuts. Okay, how do I trim instead of just putting, for example, if I want to cut this part too, let's say this is the error, like I said earlier, I'll just insert another cut here. If I click V, which is sort of selection tool, or I just click selection tool, I can remove this. What if I don't want to go through all of those? I can just insert only one cut. I can insert only one cut here like this. Instead of inserting another cut to remove, I'll just make use of the selection tool. If I hover around close to the edge, you see that it changes so that I can drag out or drag in. Okay, that's the red sign. So just click and hold and drag out like this. While I'm dragging, if you take a look at the program monitor, you will see the current position I'm at. All right. So if you say, okay, this is the part, I just want it to where it just shows a rigger, this part here, I'll just leave it around there. All right. So if I come here, for example, you see it began from Eriga, you just play. So that is one way of doing the stuff. In the same vein, I can drag in to shorten the clip or drag out. But take note that there's no way I cannot drag out of a clip when it is at the end of the clip. So you cannot drag out to extend more than the duration of the clip. Right? So that's what you get using this. But don't forget, when you drag out or drag in, it also leaves a space. You will not have to use the selection tool and move it so that it can be closed. Or If I Ctrl Z, for example, I can click this space and just delete the space. Is there any other way for me to just drag out in such a way that it will not leave any space? Yes, there is a way. That way is called the use of a ripple edit. So the ripple edit tool is this first one here that we have here that has two arrows to the right and left side. You see it, ripple edit tool. Its shortcut is B. What does this tool do? It makes you to trim a clip without leaving the spaces. So that effect in Premiere is what is referred to as a ripple edit. You edit something without leaving spaces. You see this now. So if I put it in this between the cuts, provided it shows this yellow sign like this, just drag out. You see now the cut is now where you stopped it, okay? So the space that should have been before where you now have to delete the space or just highlight this and push, it just made sure that those spaces is cut off automatically. So that's what we call ripple editing. Now, if you click and hold, instead of just clicking once, click and hold, you see that there are other tools here, which is rolling edit tool. What does the roll edit tool do? The roll edit tool is used to move the in and out points without changing the duration of the clips. Look at all of these. This is the length of duration for these clips, right? All of this. It stopped about 13 seconds, 11 milliseconds. So if I want this to be 13 seconds, 11 milliseconds long, even though I want to edit all of these, what am I going to do? I want to change the in and out point. So if I want it to start at this life is a process around here like this, what am I going to do? It's already here at the moment. So, but I want it to start around this place. What am I going to do? I'm going to put it in such a way that I will choose this rolling edit tool. The in point normally is supposed to be this 10 years, okay? But I want it to start from life is a process. What am I going to do? I could just hold this and just drag it until I get to life is a process. Just look at your program. Okay, so I'm now here. Now the whole length is still the same thing at the moment, as you can see. All right, 13.09, 13.11. I can move forward twice. Okay, 13.11. Nothing has changed, but the in point for this particular clip has changed. So it simply means, if I, for example, let me double click so that you can understand it better. If I open this in the source monitor view, okay, you see that we have in point. This one, this is the in point, this is the out point. Using this roll edit tool simply means I'm changing the in point. Okay, but as I'm changing the in point, it simply means the out point for this particular clip will be changed, will be increased. Do you understand? So before now, I add less of this and I add more of this. Now I've moved this in such a way that I'm not having less of this, having more of this. So that's what the use of this particular roll edit tool is. You use changing the in and out point within two clips. That's a simple definition of that. Now for the raise stretch tool, the other time when I told you about the rolling edit tool or the selection tool, I can decide to drag out, but I cannot drag out again because the length of the clip has ended. What if I want to increase this clip to somewhere around this particular position? It simply means I'm going to slow it down. That's why we use the rate stretching tool. So if I'm slowing it down like this by increasing the length, it simply means it's going to take more time to play. That's what the rate stretch tool does. So if I want to reduce the speed of a clip, I use the rate stretch tool and I drag it out so that you now take more. Something that's supposed to be 1 minute is now going to take about 2 minutes. Simply means it's going to be slower. If I want to speed up a clip, I'll use it and I'll push it inside instead, such that it will now be faster. If I play this, for example, you see how fast it is. Okay. Now for the remix tool, when we start editing, you understand what the remix tool is. It depends on the software you have. If you have 2019, I'm not sure there's remix tool in 2019. It's a tool that came up much later. When we start editing, I will show you exactly what the remix tool does. We've talked about the razor tool. Before we talk about the slip and the slides tool, let us talk about the pen tool. What the pen tool does. The pen tool is used for creating custom shapes. All right. I could want to create custom shapes like this, and I will close it in. But if at the moment I click at the point where I started from, that point is the one that has two squares. All right. You look at it carefully, you see that it is two squares. If I click on it, it closes, and it's the middle one because I highlighted, showing you that these shapes have been formed. Okay, it's used for creating custom shapes. Now, for this one, the next tool would be the rectangle tool. Rectangle tool is as simple. I'll just click and drag in my program monitor the kind of rectangle I want. Any house I want it, I'll drag. Okay. What if I want a square? What am I going to do? If I hold shift and click and drag, it just keep giving me a shape of equal size. So this is a square, depending on the size. Now, same thing goes if I'm going to use, if I click and hold and click on this ellipse. Ellipse tool will give me something like a circle. Okay, but the moment I click shift, it becomes a uniform circle. All right, but that circle didn't start. So same thing goes for this. Now let us look at, first of all, let me zoom this in because of the next tool I want to talk about. Let's look at the hand tool. The hand tool has a shortcut of H. If I press H, for example, it will give me this hand. What does it do? I can use it to move sideways off the timeline. Okay, let's say I don't want to use this slider to increase the slider amount. I want it zoomed in, but I also want to look at what is happening while it is zoomed in like this. I can just use this H to be moving left or right timeline. If you also click and hold, you see what's called the zoom tool, which is Z. What does this tool does? Let me zoom out first. I can just click at a particular place and it will just zoom it in for me. Or I just be clicking. Now, if I want to zoom out, what do? Clicking option changes this plus that you see to minus. So if I click, it will be zooming out. So these are the tools that we have. The last tool we're going to be looking at is this test tool. The test tool have both horizontal and vertical test tool. So if I click this one like this, it will let me type test, okay, horizontally. All right. Why the other one is the vertical one, which is one at the bottom. If I click this, for example, say this, it's going to let me put test vertical test tool. Okay. I could change all of these when I come to the essential graphics. Look at the properties here. If I want to change the color of my text, just highlight it. I want to change the font. I can say, let me take this font instead and make the color red, for example. So it's now going to be looking like this. So I click my selection tool, it's not going to be looking like this. I can click it and move it anywhere I want in the program monitor. Okay, so when we start editing proper, you will see the use of all of these things. I will need you guys to master the use of all of these tools that we have here and make it very frequent. Okay, now let us look at this other tool, which is the slip tool and the slide tool. The slip tool and the slide tool does something. It is used to shift the in and out point of the of a clip that is in between two other footages. So this one and this one are in between this, right? So the moment I click this using the slip tool, the moment I can decide to change the in and out point of this clip that I'm clicking now without changing the duration, the length of everything that I have on my timeline. Let's say you are done editing, but you just want to use other in points. If I come here and look at this, it started from 2019 to 2020. What if I want just to start from life is a process directly? You understand? What am I going to do? Instead of changing or editing or changing stuff relative to all of this one, what I want to do is using the slip tool, come click the slip tool, then I'll click dragging to the right so that it take me to the point I want. Okay? Now it's showing me the position of the other two clips, all right, as I'm moving it. So where would I have it be? Okay, so if I play it now, all of these ones will not change. Rather, the location of this middle one that I have, the one that I have this thing, I'll change it to life is a process. I can click and hold. For the slide tool, will do the extreme opposite. Instead of changing the in and out point of this clip, rather, it is this one and this one that will change. So if I come here and click this, and I drag left or right, it is the in and out point of these other two clips that will be moving relative to this clip that I have here. Yet, it will cover just the same duration of the total clips in the timeline. When we get to creating stuff, you now understand what I mean. For the most part, you might most likely not use these tools. I will show you the most important tools that you're using in editing all of your stuff. So one thing you must bear in mind is that editing is an art, all right, and a science also. But there are many ways to get a particular thing done. That's why I want you to gain mastery of all of these tools, because most of your time will be spent in the timeline doing your editing. Ask your questions that you are having challenges on. We're going to look at the live session. See you guys on the next one.